All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ASAP in the Morning. It is Thursday, September 8th, 10:06 a.m. on the East Coast, and I'm joined by Pride this morning. Good morning, Pride. How you doing?
Football is back. That's all I care about at this point, man. I feel like I haven't seen a football game in like 3 years. Like a legitimate football game.
Yeah, we're waking up out of our slumber from not having football for so long, like legitimate NFL football.
Yes.
Preseason is what it is, but yeah, football's back tonight. Bills, Rams. We'll talk about that later on tonight. It's football's back. That's all you can say. Welcome to the show, everyone. Let us know in the comments down below where you're watching from, how you're doing this morning. All your crazy hot takes. We're just waiting on Damien basically at this point.
I mean, if we're gonna be honest, by the way, I'm curious to see how upset he is that Mitchell Trubisky not only was named the starter, but before even getting the starting job officially, my guy was named the team captain. Like, I just don't get why people hate Mitchell Trubisky. I don't get it.
I don't hate him. It's just I just know anytime that I've watched him play outside of playing against the Lions, he's really not been, he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great either. I think it's because a lot of the fact that people gave the Bears such a hard time that they traded up, outbid themselves to trade up to get Trubisky when he was going to be available to them anyway. And I think that still kind of sticks with people, which is why they give him such a hard time.
Sure, I get it. And my thing is, we've seen a stretch where Matt Nagy wasn't calling plays, and this kid looked like, for a stretch when Matt Nagy wasn't involved, he was justifying why they traded up and got him. Like, they were actually justifying it. Like, he was playing at a phenomenal high caliber level. Matt Nagy realized what was happening, was like, I ain't trying to get fired, so that he decided to take the reins again, you know? So I don't think Mitchell Trubisky is a bad quarterback. I mean, do I ever think he'll be top 10? I mean, no, not really. You know, I learned my lesson from my Ryan Tannehill discussion, so I'm going to be a good guy. I'm going to be a good noodle. But I don't know, man. He's not the best thing, but him on your roster does not hurt you. It doesn't hurt you, right? Like, there are way worse quarterbacks out there. Trey Lance is out there, for crying out loud. Okay? Trey Lance is out there. All right? You got Geno Smith and Drew Lock somehow in the same quarterback room. Somehow. How I don't know.
You're going to be very surprised later on when that Trey Lance comment. I think you'll be very shocked.
I know I am. I know I am. I think I said, what, week 5? Week 5. Yeah,
week 5,
yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo ends up retaking the starting position, and Trey Lance goofy ass. Yeah, you know what I noticed about Trey Lance? He's got the same thing Trey Young got going on. The hair thinning way too early. Like, yeah. you know how people say Trey Lance looks like you dropped a lollipop on the ground and on a carpet, and you just kind of like with the fuzz gets on it, and that's where all the hair is. That's how they both look like.
Good morning, Ray. Welcome from Jacksonville. We're driving around playing chauffeur today. Host of Jag Nation here on ASAP Network, among other things. Heel Nation as well. Make sure to check that out on the long category list of ASAP shows here on ASAP Network. But we'll get into some topics today. Obviously, the NFL kicking off. Before we do that, make sure that you like and subscribe to ASAP Network, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. We're also on Twitter. So make sure that if you like the stream, if you like hearing some of this banter and some of the takes that we have, some of the outlandish takes that some of us have, make sure to hit that like, hit the share button, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on YouTube, just search ASAP Sports Network. We already kind of talked about it. The NFL season kicks off tonight. We've got Buffalo. What a better way to start this season. Buffalo at LA. You got the defending champions going up against what's talked about as being one of the most highly powered offenses in the NFL coming into this season. And that game starts tonight at 8:20 on NBC. And it looks like Rams are plus 2.5. Bills are favored in this game. Do you like that the Bills are favored?
Yeah, I do. Before I even go, let me just kind of piggyback off what you said. Like, the defending champs against who people are already crowning as the champs. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? And who knows? By the way, I love your mug. Just letting you know the whole Thanos. I love it. Just want to throw it out there. But yeah, a lot of people are making the argument that, you know, if the new overtime rule was in effect, that they could have beaten the Chiefs, right? So, you know, they were close. They were close, you know what I mean? It was a very thrilling game, you know? So, but I have the Bills, and it ultimately comes down to, honestly, quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford has been dealing with that, you know, that elbow injury, where they call it, what was it? I think it was like thrower's elbow they were calling it or whatever, something like that. Yeah. They've been trying to say, oh, yeah, he's fine. But then you see him in training camp and he throws one ball and then he's just like, yeah, let me take a right check, bro. Next thing you know, he does like 5 screens in a row. And it's like, that wasn't the play. What are you doing? You know? So it's like something's bothering him. And I think that's going to end up kind of rearing its ugly head. You know, that's honestly why I think it's going to end up kind of costing them the game, you know? And when you have two high-powered offenses and defenses like the Bills and the Rams have, it's those little advantages that ends up coming clutch at the end of the night. It's those things that you don't really prepare for. They just kind of happen that end up getting you the win instead of your own game plan, you know, especially, again, these are two, like on paper, two of the most stat teams in the NFL, and they've shown you success. You know, granted, the Bills haven't been to a Super Bowl, but they were just in the AFC Championship game. You know, and then the Rams just won the Super Bowl. So, I think it's gonna be a situation where, you know, it's gonna be a very entertaining game. It's gonna be fun to watch. Great way to start it. But I think the Bills ultimately come out and take this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting storylines coming into this game. Obviously, Von Miller left the Rams to go to Buffalo for a more lucrative contract. You know, he's going to want to come out and show out. The elbow from Matt Stafford is, as you mentioned, it's been talked about a lot. It did come out. I think it was on ESPN. I was looking this morning. It did come out that he had a minor procedure on his elbow in the offseason, but that hasn't really been talked about a whole lot. So it's going to be very intriguing to watch how does this quarterback situation play out for the Rams if Matt Stafford is really not as healthy as, you know, maybe they're kind of covering things up for him about how healthy he really is. And I don't remember who their backup quarterback is. I think it's Blake Bortles, if I'm not mistaken, from last year.
Oh man, I'm about to look that up. Hold on.
I think their quarterback's Blake Bortles if Stafford goes down.
Whoa.
But if that is the case, you kind of have to completely change your whole playbook, because watching Bortles in Jacksonville, he's a much different player than Matt Stafford. Like I don't think there's any doubt, no question about that. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch, is how healthy is Matt Stafford? Is he going to be able to kind of carry that load offensively the rest of the way? And we talked about the Bills' high-powered offense coming in. They also have a new offensive coordinator because remember, Brian Dable went to head coach the Giants in the offseason. So now they have first-time offensive coordinator, former quarterback Ken Dorsey from the U, making his debut as the offensive coordinator for the Bills. So you got to, getting into the play calling for him, like how much different is this offense going to be? Is it really not going to change much? It really depends because they have a lot of different weapons on this team that they can utilize. Dawson Knox just got paid. He's a top 5 tight end now, which is scary for other tight ends that are coming up on contracts. Because if Dawson Knox, who's been a pedestrian tight end so
settle
far,
down,
just
settle down.
I looked his stats up. He had no more than 500 yards in a season. He had
But why
he
is
had 9 touchdowns last year?
That's what I'm saying. He not only is he a red zone threat, but you have 15 other options, including the fact that Josh Allen will pick the ball up and run. I think if you put Dawson Knox in a situation where he has to be like the number 2 receiver, I don't think he's a pedestrian tight end at all. I think he's definitely a top tight end. It's just in that situation, in that system, they prefer to go deep. And when they go deep,
right,
you either want Stephon or they hit Cole Beasley under.
So where I kind of mean with that is pedestrian numbers. Let me rephrase that then. Pedestrian numbers, because if that's what someone's going to get paid for those type of numbers, some of the next guys up that have bigger numbers, what's that going to mean for them? I'm thinking more along the lines of like TJ Hawkinson's a guy in Detroit who's coming up on an extension. He's had a Pro Bowl year. He's had better. So conversation around Detroit is he worth being paid as a top 5 tight end? Well, I think he's at least comparable to Dawson Knox. He's considered one of the higher end like fantasy values this year at tight end. So he's definitely going to get paid, but you've got Dawson Knox got paid. You've got other weapons on that offense. You've got 2-3 running backs deep in that offense for Buffalo. So I think that's going to be something to watch out for. On their defensive side, they do have what's his name? Elam. I forget how to pronounce his first name. Kaiir Elam from Florida. He's starting, and then a former 6th round pick, Christian Benford, is starting at corner tonight as well. So few question marks on the Bills defense from the secondary point of view. And I think it's a very intriguing matchup. I have the Bills taking this game as well. And I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and it's a great way to kick off the NFL season.
Yeah. And by the way, Blake Bortles, he's not on the Rams anymore.
Oh, he's not?
No. I was just genuinely curious because I was like, I remember he was there. I was like, what did he do? Because I know there was a couple times that, Matthew Stafford wasn't,
they got John Wolford from the
which you might
AAF. Remember the AAF?
Yeah. So you might want to go get Blake Bortles again. But Blake Bortles last year, look at these numbers, bro. Okay. He was there, he was active, for 3 games, right? Do you know how many games he started though?
If I remember correctly, I think he started 2 games.
A whopping 0 games, bro. Look at these.
Oh, he did.
Look at these like phenomenal numbers. And every game he somehow I don't know, he played 2 passing attempts with 1 completion through 50% for the year. What a stud, bro. 3 yards. Like, oh my God. Get this man. His longest pass was 3 yards, bro. Yards per attempt 1.5.
Get
this guy right here. We need to give him a max contract. And it's crazy how you
want to know the scary thought?
Scary
thought is Jacksonville, the year they went to the AFC title game, they were talking about giving him a max deal.
Imagine. And it's funny because I was kind of looking back a little bit, right? Because last week I was talking to my coworker and we were making fun of Blake Bortles, and I actually look back. It was insane how much we were hyping, or how much hype Blake Bortles was getting.
Yep.
because he was at best. But how many sacks will Von Miller get on staff? I think he gets one.
I think it's 1 to 2.
Yeah,
I think he'll get at least one. And it's just, and it's not, it's just, it could be a coverage sack. You know what I mean? Like, Von Miller is not the same Von Miller, but on that defense, he could be put in positions that he could get to the quarterback. I think he gets a handful of pressures tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I think he gets a handful of pressures for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm just looking back to his rookie year. I'm not even gonna talk about his rookie year. 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 58%, and under 3,000 yards, right? I think the year that he kind of had his quote coming out party where people really started kind of looking at him was his second year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which 58%, 4,428 yards, 35 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, which that's what people were like, all right, they kind of got something with him, right? His third year, by the way, first 3 years all lose the seasons. I think that goes without saying. But his third year, 58%, 3,105 yards, 23 touchdowns, 60 interceptions. A little bit of a dip, but people were like, all right, he'll be fine. Then it's the game that you're talking about, 2017, right? When it was Saxonville and fucking bums. 60%.
I was pulling for him.
60. I wasn't. I was pulling for them to play New England because I was like, bro, we're gonna expose them so bad. So Jalen Ramsey was crying.
And Jacksonville should have won that game, by the way, too. But hey, it's a credit. It's a credit that out of that situation, the Patriots still had to go and win that game. They still had to put it away, and they went and did it.
We did. And I love how you said that they should have won that game, and my dad should have been around. Okay, he's not. So it is. It is what it is.
Miles Jack wasn't down, but we'll leave that.
Okay. If he was better, there would be no question about it. So anyway,
you could also use the tuck rule for that. Like we could all go into the conspiracies there. But
here's my thing. Here's my thing. You can go to the conspiracies, and I'll hit you with what happened.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is we could throw all those out there, but none of it happened.
Charles Woodson butthurt. We beat Oakland. He tight. I don't know if you saw the video of Tom Brady and Charles Woodson talking about it. Yeah. And Tom Loki slipped up.
He's like, it might have been a fumble.
Yeah, he was like, yo, you got the that was funny. But that year that they made it, which everyone was saying was his best year, yeah, it was his highest completion at 60%. But like the second lowest in terms of yardage with only 3,600, a little over 3,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. So it's kind of bizarre how like we think back like, yo, he actually was playing pretty good. And when you really look back at it, it's like, yo, they really killed Leonard Fournette.
Mm-hmm.
Like they turned Leonard Fournette into a role player type of running back because they killed the man. Like they killed him. And then his final year, phenomenal numbers, 60%, 2,700 yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. I mean, the highest he's ever had in terms of, touchdowns was his second year, 35. And the Jags weren't that good. And it's kind of ironic how when they have their most success, they kind of put them away somewhere. Put them in like a little cupboard and just, stay over there.
It was, that season was a great season for the city of Jacksonville. But I mean, you're talking about the one knock on Blake Bortles was his decision making, and he threw too many picks. He always threw too many picks.
And the picks he threw were just dumb picks. I saw something on Twitter earlier. I want to get your thoughts on it because I don't know how I feel about it. Someone said, so you know how everyone compares Dak Prescott to Kirk Cousins?
Okay, yeah,
Someone
I've
made
heard
it.
that.
Someone made a compelling argument, and I actually entertained it for about 5 minutes. That Dak Prescott is just Blake Bortles, who can put up a little more garbage stats.
No,
I'm
I
willing
think
to entertain it because Blake Bortles sometimes did that. So that's why I
yeah,
was willing to entertain it for about 5 minutes. But then I remembered, all right, Blake Bortles dog shit. So like I was like, all right, let me
so
stop with that.
yeah, I mean, so here's my problem with that. I understand where it comes from. Dak Pres Dak Prescott does have more weapons than Blake Bortles did, but I think he's just a better decision maker. Bortles just made terrible decisions. He had a strong running game. You can compare Zeke to Fournette in their prime as far as like not the fact that he is on the same level, but it's comparable in like the stats that Fournette had, especially when they were using him as the bell cow. And but Bortles, that was always the problem was they didn't have a quarterback. Okay, they go out and get Bortles, he's the future. Now they got to get receivers. They had Allen Robinson, and that was it. Like they didn't really have any other. They weren't really able to get a lot of weapons for him. They had everything put together except they had a mediocre offensive line and they had no weapons on offense to help out Bortles. So had he had some more weapons, could he have had a better career? I don't really know. It's that's down that other rabbit hole we were talking about, but I don't think that's a fair assessment of Dak comparing him to Blake Bortles. I think I get it, but I don't think that's fair to Dak at least.
I just want to say, they had Marquise Lee, who had about like a little over 700 yards. No, because I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to absolve the responsibility from Blake Bortles. So I'm gonna continue. No. Okay.
Marquise Lee was his injuries it did not help him. That hurt him big time.
Right.
Injuries hurt him, but he was very highly touted coming out of college and he didn't really live up to that. Whether that was injuries, you could have also chalked that up to Blake Bortles. He's just not really that accurate of a quarterback.
Yeah, he sucks. 100%.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he's doo-doo, as you like to say.
Doo-doo in the butt.
Yes,
I believe that's how I refer to him.
Could you see Dak being compared to more like Goff?
No,
Bortles?
because Goff is solid. No, I do. Listen. I've said it before. Dak Prescott is not. He's not good. He's not bad either.
I don't think he's bad.
Yeah, he's just there. That's it. I treat him the same way I would treat Trent Dilfer. Back when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, I treat him just like Trent Dilfer. I give him no credit for the wins. I laugh at the losses, but I give him I don't say because I just think he's just there. He doesn't do anything. If anything, it's a knock because he consistently does some of the dumbest stuff you could possibly see, and no one talks about it. No one talks about it. Like, I've never seen someone throw into double coverage more, and then they blame the wide receiver. I'm not a fan of Amari Cooper. If Amari Cooper's getting double teamed, and you see him kind of taking himself out the play, why are you going to target him? Makes no sense. Why would you target him? That's brain dead. Why would you run the clock out? And I'm not even talking about last year. There's been multiple times where the game is online and the guy just runs for no reason whatsoever and runs up the middle. If you're going to run, at least run to the sideline so that we can go out of bounds. Multiple times this kid calls his timeout for no reason whatsoever. He just calls timeout. Bro, there was 15 seconds left on the clock. What are you doing, bro? Like, the play clock, you have 15 seconds. What are you doing? And then he's just looking like, oh. Like, he does stupid stuff all the time. And if it was any other quarterback doing it, we would kill him. I don't know what it is with Dak Prescott. I guess because, I guess that one time he wore everyone's favorite sock or something. I don't know what it is with this weird infatuation with the guy.
Is
But
it? Do you
Go
think
ahead.
it's because Dak Prescott plays for the Cowboys and they're like the media? I wouldn't say media darling, but they're like, it's similar to in NBA. A lot of times the Lakers are always, how can we loop the Lakers in? And I know
Right,
places
okay.
like ESPN, they're always like, how can we loop the Cowboys in? Because we know Stephen A is a Cowboys fan. Like, how can we loop them into this conversation? You think that's probably why?
This is what I honestly think it is. This is what I think it's a combination. I think that's one of the reasons, because again, if you're talking about a team, obviously you're gonna talk about, you're gonna talk about the quarterback, right? Like if you talk about New England, you're gonna bring up Mac Jones, right? Kind of how we did earlier when we were talking about the Bills and the Rams, we brought up their quarterbacks, right? We brought up both of them. So I think it's a little bit of that. What I also think is, I think a lot of it stems, believe it or not, from a lot of Kirk Cousins' hatred. I will go to my grave saying this. I will take Kirk Cousins, my cousin Vinny, my cousin's Uncle Al. It don't matter. I'm taking Cousins over Dak Prescott. I mean, what is a Prescott? I got a lot of cousins. I never heard anyone say, "Hey, yo, hop into Prescott." Like what? You feel me? But I think it comes up from a lot of Kirk Cousins hate because
who even wears ascots anymore? You know what I mean?
What are we doing here, bro? What are we doing here, bro? But yeah, nah. I'll be honest. Maybe it's just me, man. I just don't. I think he's just there.
Yeah,
and I think it also has to do with a lot of he replaced Tony Romo, and everyone hated Tony Romo. So there's like that replacing.
Yeah,
that
is true.
So I think there's a lot.
Morning to Mike Hughes, checking in, crushing his classes today. He's watching us in the morning, sitting in his lecture hall. Morning, Mike. Appreciate you. So, all right, Pride. I know we talked last week and earlier this week about the division, how the divisions are going to play out, do a little bit of previews. So I went last night through, there's a website for Playoff Predictor. Morning, Frankie. Happy NFL Day. I went through the Playoff Predictor, go through literally week by week, game by game. And I came up with some interesting record predictions. And I think you're going to have some words for sure. I got to show you this. All right. So you ready? This is the AFC. I went through. I got the Bills as the top seed, losing 2 games. I got the AFC West being the hardest division. Every team has a winning record. 3 teams from that division make the playoffs. AFC North, 3 teams have 10 wins. I got the rate. I'm looking at I kid you not, I'm looking at the schedule, and I know I've talked in the last week about, well, it's good. I think the Bengals win the division, it'll be close. And I kid you not, I'm looking down this schedule for the Ravens and I go, well, that's a win. That's a win. That's a win. Even if they have 1 weapon, 2 weapons on offense, I'm just looking at some of these schedules and going, man, that's okay. Yeah, some of them are toss-ups. Some of them are really hard to predict. So I threw in a few like, well, this is a game they shouldn't lose, but they'll lose anyway, that kind of stuff. But the AFC East is the Bills and everyone else. The AFC West, all 4 teams have winning records. 3 teams make the playoffs. The AFC North, Like I said, 3 teams have 10-win seasons. The Browns at 5-12, and that's even with me considering at week 12, Deshaun Watson comes in. They got a lot of hard games at the end of the season. And I'm sorry, Frankie. I'm looking at the Patriots schedule, and they got a lot of question marks on both sides. Their schedule's not easy, but I'm looking at some of these games like I don't think there's a way they're beating this team or that team. But I think that's like their floor. I think that's a floor for the Patriots. I could easily see them winning a handful of those toss-up games and being in that 8, 9, 10 win area. The AFC South was actually pretty difficult too. I think the Colts end up taking it. Looking at the schedule, I don't think teams like the Jets and the Texans, I look at their schedule and go, I don't think they win. I had to pick games. It was like Jets versus Texans. Who's going to win? Probably the Texans. Unless Zach Wilson takes a big step forward. Frankie, I understand. I'm looking, but that's what I'm saying. I'm looking through these schedules, and I'm like, well, some of these games could be toss-ups. But I see some of these. I see the schedule for the Bills. I go, there's no way they're losing this game. There's no way they're losing that game. I just think in that division, the Bills are just a lot better than everybody else. The Browns, I have them horrible until Deshaun Watson gets back. He's Pride's a little busy right now. Pride's a little busy right now. But that's my AFC. NFC's there he comes.
So
there he is.
Okay. I had to. I'm sorry, my mother-in-law.
I had to give you a minute.
Yeah, and my mother-in-law called me. And I was just like, all right, just talk with her. And I'm looking up and I saw the Patriots thing. And I was like, oh, man, look, the Patriots, right? I look back down. I look up. I see a red number. I was like, hold on, Skip. What in the world? So you said the 12. I was like, no way. I look at the record. I'm like, 5-12. And then I see Frankie go, 5-12? Disrespect. Let me explain something. We start with the Dolphins. I'll give them the win. Okay. I listen, there's going to be some politicking going on here because Tua Tagovailoa is going to keep his job. Okay.
Vaigota. Yes.
Vaigota. I said what I said and I meant it. He ain't Mac Jones though. Okay. So we start off 0-1. So Pittsburgh's not beating us. Ravens not beating us. Packers not beating us.
Oh, stop,
Lions not beating us.
Come on.
That is 4 in a row that they're not beating us. I
see the way I see that. Okay, you could lose at Miami. They don't really play well in Miami anyway.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Miami, yeah.
0-1.
Yeah, I took that.
So we agree there.
I honestly think the Steelers game is a toss-up.
Yeah, I think it's a toss-up. How bad we're going to toss up their entire lineup. What do you mean?
The Patriots, it's defensively is where they need to take advantage of the Steelers, but the Steelers, they still have some weapons on the offense. They still have a run game. They still have a defense. I think the pass rush for the Steelers is kind of that teetering is why I went Steelers for game 2.
So I do get the pass rush thing. I get that. They still got they have a very, very big, especially with TJ. Don't get it twisted. But offensively, they got Chase Claypool who's getting locked up by number 3 corners. Do with that information as you will. Defensively, outside of that pass rush, they're really not special. They are average at best. And Minka Fitzpatrick will have one game where he's, oh my God, he looks like the best thing ever. And then 3 games where people forgot he's on an NFL roster. So this Steelers team is not good. They're just not good. especially considering they're finishing under 500 this year. They're finishing under 500.
Do you think the Steelers finish under 500?
Easily. So like, I'll be honest with you. There's nothing that Pittsburgh has outside of pass rush that is better than the Patriots. Not a single position they have is better than the Patriots outside of pass rushing. Okay, let me just throw that caveat in there because if I just say that, someone's gonna kill me. But outside of pass rushing, they don't do anything better. So that's why I think we're gonna win. Ravens, i.e., go see Pittsburgh conversation, because they haven't gotten better. If anything, they've gotten worse. I hope Lamar Jackson balls out though. I have him on my fantasy team, so ball out and take a L, kid. And then the Packers.
While you're going down that, Damian, you got to look at the screen, dude. I did every team. This is every team. This is
I was gonna ignore it. I was gonna, because the thing is, you have it broken up by division. Like you literally have like the team.
It's literally broken up
divisions.
So I'm looking through this too, and okay, let's say for instance that they take down the Ravens. I really don't think they're beating the Packers. I really don't.
How about this? How about this? Right? I'll give you the Packers. If you, we'll go. How about this? At this point, 5 weeks in, I'll settle for 2 losses. I'll go 3-2.
I would have 3. I still see them losing to the Steelers, but I could see that being a toss-up game.
Okay, fine. So you got them 2-3 so far. I got them 3 and 2. I got them 4-1 because fuck them. Then we play Detroit. I swear to God, if you say Detroit's winning,
I put down the Patriots to win because it's in Foxborough. The Lions still have to learn how to win on the road, but I honestly think that's going to be a tougher game than you would think.
I mean, yeah, but you know what else is tough? A steak is tough until you start beating it, then it gets tender. So that's
I do have the Patriots winning 4 in a row after that loss to the Packers. So even if I change that Ravens, I still have them at 7 wins.
We're not finishing under 500.
I don't have them in division. I don't have them beating the Bills at either time.
I think we split that.
Okay, I could agree with that when they play at home.
Yes, I think in Foxborough is where we win.
Yeah, so I have them sweeping the Jets, splitting with the Dolphins, and then I could argue splitting with the Bills, but I really don't think they do.
So they split with the Bills. We played them twice, right?
Yep, play the Bills twice, and they're both late in the season. So it's week 18 against the Patriots. So if the Bills are in a bye situation, I could see the Patriots winning that.
Yeah, they'll probably
because they'll rest.
Right. So right now we're 2-2. Because you're saying you would split with Miami, and you would split and split with the Dolphins. We play the Jets. What is it? Twice.
Play the Jets twice. That's 2 wins.
So that's 4-2. Right. That's 4-2 so far. Right. Right. So far, am I mathematically in the?
So
ballpark?
We would be at 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 wins from division.
So that's 4. We're beating the Browns. That's 5. We're beating. Let me see. What the Lions? That's 6. The Bears. That's 7. I don't care
Bears,
what it says. We're beating the Bears. So we're at 7 right now, right? Like I said, we're beating the Steelers. So that's 9. So we're already over 500. Already over 500.
I've got right now, even with those adjustments we're talking about, I still have the Patriots at 8 and 9.
And the only 8 and 9 you disagree with is the Steelers.
I got the Steelers as a loss.
And you even said that's a toss-up.
And it is a toss-up. Absolutely. That's why I'm saying like the floor for them is like 5-6 wins. They could be up in that 8, 9, 10 win range because there are a lot of toss-up games. It really depends on, can Mac Jones take the step forward? Do they have weapons on offense that are going to the fact that their offense is in disarray because they got Matt Patricia as the play caller, not play caller.
Well, yeah, listen, we're gonna be in disarray because this is the first time Matt Patricia has ever stepped foot near Mac Jones. This is the first time he stepped foot near Devontae Parker. Nope, toss-up Steelers have juice this year. yeah, apple juice, because we're gonna put these children in a corner while they cry because they're losers. Anyway,
that's Shane from our Sunday weekly wrap-up show here on ASAP Network. Good morning,
Boo.
Shane.
Boo.
Nate's got the Patriots at 9-8.
Craig, what's your football team? I need to know this real quick.
Oh, you already know my football.
Oh, you're a Detroit fan, right?
Yes.
Yes, you're a Detroit. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure there was no hatred. I just want to make sure there was no hatred going around there. Like, if you're a Giants fan, I would disqualify everything you're saying.
Oh, no, absolutely no. And I'm telling you, I looked through these, even with the Lions, I'm looking at their record or at their schedule going, I'm being realistic. Like week 1, I think it'll be a close game, but I don't think they're going to beat the Eagles. Like, I'd be realistic, but I don't want to talk about it right now. We're talking about the Patriots here. I have them losing games. Here's my losses for them. And then obviously you can rebuttal.
Okay.
Week one at Miami.
Yes.
Week 2 at Pittsburgh, toss up. Week 4 at Green Bay. Then I have them winning 4 in a row against the Lions, Browns, Bears, and Jets. Mm-hmm. Then I have them week 9 losing to the Colts before their bye week. All right. Off the bye week, week 11, they come back, they beat the Jets. Mm-hmm. Then I have them losing on the road at Minnesota.
I can see that happening. Okay. That I can see happening. Yeah.
On the road at Minnesota. Then I have them losing to the Bills in week 13. It is home, but they play the Bills again in week 18. And if the Bills are resting,
that's why I say we're gonna split. I think they'll smack us the first time, and then the last game they'll have Josh Allen out there for like a series.
Yeah,
they'll run down the field, score a touchdown, then they'll take him out, and then they'll sign Blake Bortles to a 1-day contract.
Then weeks 14 through 16, I have 3 losses on the road at the Cardinals. That would be a game they shouldn't lose, but I could see them losing.
Right.
Yep. And then the next week at Vegas, if Vegas has got as good of an offense as is being talked about, the Raiders could steal that at home.
Honestly, I don't even think it's a steal. I don't even think that'd be a steal, to be honest with you.
Then week 16, they're home against the Bengals,
which I honestly think we have a better chance at winning this game than people think.
And I would agree, but these are like toss-up games to me that I'm looking at. Like, so then week 17 beating the Miami, week 18 beating the Bills. So that's 8-9.
But those are the ones you're saying.
Right.
The Packers are not good. They're not good.
They have a good defense and they have Aaron Rodgers. That's all they've needed.
And
that's all they've needed. I've watched them.
You can't say that because he had Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the league. Before that, when it was just a defense and Aaron Rodgers, there was a sub 500 team. Jay Cutler was making the playoffs on his watch. God damn it. So nah, man, nah.
It's okay. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. And I know
it's just slander. Mac Jones is winning MVP. That's it. I said now I gotta counterbalance your extreme.
You heard it here. You heard it on ASAP in the morning first from Pride's mouth. Mac Jones is winning MVP.
See, you gotta go to one extreme, so now I gotta counterbalance. I gotta go to another one.
I don't think it's that extreme, but okay. All right.
Devontae Parker at the end of the year is gonna be the best wide receiver in the league. Who's our dude number 1? Mills. He's phenomenal. That kid is gonna be the best corner ever. He's gonna be a phenomenal. You're making me go to like extremes, man. Like But no, man, look, I think it's going to be dark times for the Packers. Dare I say, I don't even know. It's going to be rough. I don't even know if I even have them over 500. It's going to be rough for the Packers, bro.
And that's why, all right, let's go to the NFC.
Okay.
And this is before I was doing some toss-up games. So this is late last night. And I'm looking at like
the Falcons with 1 win.
Yeah, I don't think they're good.
I'm surprised. Honestly, I thought you were going to go over. Swear to God, I thought you were going to go over.
I don't think offers happen so rarely. I don't think.
Yeah, now you're right.
But like, look at the bottom teams. The Giants have like 2 wins. The Falcons, the Seahawks, the Bears. I think all the bottom teams in the divisions this year are going to be really bad.
Okay, hold on.
So I'm looking at the Packers schedule, right?
Yes, go ahead.
So you were talking about the Packers. You think they finish under 500. I have week 1, they're at Minnesota. I have that lost. So Minnesota wins that. I have them winning week 2 against the Bears, losing week 3 against the Bucks. I have them beating, we were talking about this. I have them beating the Patriots week 4. All 3 games are then at home. They got the Patriots, the Giants, and the Jets. I think they can win all 3 of those games. I have them week 7 winning on the road at Washington. And they lose to the Bills. I have them splitting with the Lions. So I have them splitting with the Lions, splitting with the Vikings, and sweeping the Bears. I have them beating the Cowboys week 10, beating the Titans week 11 at home. I have them losing on the road to the Eagles week 12, beat the Bears week 13 on the road, bye week, losing to the Rams, beating the Dolphins, and then win their last 2 games home against the Vikings and Lions, 11-6.
I got them losing to the Packers. I'll be nice to say they split with the Bears. I have them losing to the Bucks, losing to the Patriots. They'll beat the Giants and Jets. I think they lose to Washington.
You think Washington, like, so I had a tough time with their schedule.
Well, Washington?
Yeah.
It is hard.
It's hard.
It is very, very hard. It's like remember how earlier we were talking about for like the Patriots, how you were talking about like some toss-ups? That is like at the bare minimum 70% of the Washington Commanders schedule.
I agree.
Straight toss-ups. So like if they end up going under 500, it's not because they suck. They're going to lose a lot of very close games. And there's going to be a lot of toss-ups. But I think they end up winning against the Packers. The Washington Commanders beat the Packers, then lose to the Bills. I think they went 2 in a row. Lions and Cowboys. I think they end up losing to the Titans because it's going to be that's in what, November? Yeah, so it's going to be cold. Who's going to want to stop Derrick Henry? So, and I think by this point, I think the first 2-3 weeks, Derrick Henry's going to try to get his legs back under him. By this point, around halfway through the season, Derrick Henry's going to be full go. Talking about
is he breaking down and get hurt again?
But that remains to be seen. I think it's more likely he's at full go.
See, when I looked at the Titans schedule, I get that.
You know what I mean?
I looked at the Titans schedule, like Derrick Henry doesn't play a full season. But anyway, so you got the Titans winning, okay?
But yeah, so I got the Titans winning.
Yep.
And then I think they lose to the Eagles because I think the Eagles are better, and then here comes the Bears. But like I said, I think they split. Put it wherever you want. I think they end up splitting with them. They lose to the Rams. I'll give them the Dolphins. I think I said they split with the Vikings.
Yeah, you had them split with the Vikings, and you have them sweeping the Lions?
Yes, I have them sweeping the Lions.
Okay. All right, so even with that, you've got them at 10-7.
Damn, my consistency's lacking. I gotta start changing some stuff.
Even with that, you got 10-7. So
they're losing to the Giants now, right? Because Danny Dimes, right? So
at home,
that's at home.
Yeah, that game's at home.
So the Giants have like -2% chance of winning. I think it's gonna be the first game that there's like a negative percentage.
So I was trying to be realistic about home teams not necessarily having an advantage, but
but
teams
Green
fare-
Bay has it.
Yeah,
Later in the year,
have it.
they got that frozen tundra stuff, 100%.
But even then, I've got them. If by this schedule, we have the Packers at 7-2 at home, 3-5 on the road.
Say that one more time.
By this count of the schedule we just did, 7-2 at home, 3-5 on the road.
Yeah.
And the only losses they have
All
at
right.
home are against
I think the Rams,
the Titans, and the Rams.
Yeah.
So
and the Titans is just with me thinking that,
So here's where I think we're gonna have this is gonna be a fun discussion. You see right smack dab in the middle there in that NFC West.
See, that right there is what I wanted to have a
right
long
behind the
conversation.
Rams.
You and we gonna have to have a long conversation because I want to hear your logic and an explanation. You got San Francisco 11-6 and the Cardinals 8-9.
And that was a tough. That's a tough because I think the Cardinals are the same position where they're missing D-Hop for the first 6 games, right?
Right.
And in their first 6 games, they've got the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Rams. I think they beat the Raiders, and that's it between those first 3 games.
I think they have a chance against the Chiefs, and they have a chance against the Rams.
Against the Chiefs,
I think
week 1 without D-Hop.
Yes.
Okay.
Because listen, you're losing D-Hop, so are you fighting from underneath? Yeah, sure. But you still have Hollywood. You still have AJ Green. You still got Zach Ertz. You still have weapons. So that's why I'm not like, oh, it's
I understand that. They've lost pieces on defense though too. That's the other part. No Chandler Jones. Who else did they lose?
And did you see who the Chiefs lost on their defense?
Right. They've lost.
They have a legitimate chance week 1 against the Chiefs.
Offensive, I agree. That game's an offensive shootout to start the season, which is going to be fantastic to watch.
Yes.
So that's the first 3 games. I have them winning on the road against the Panthers, and then I have them beating the Eagles at home week 5.
Okay.
Then beating the Seahawks on the road week 6, beating the Saints at home week 7. I have them losing to the Vikings week 8 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have them beating the Seahawks again, losing to the Rams, losing to the Niners, losing to the Chargers, then a bye week. I have them beating said Patriots, and then losing to the Broncos, losing to the Buccaneers, beating the Falcons, and then losing to the 49ers. So even then, that's 8-9. Those are all tough games.
So
because if they lose to the Patriots but split with the 49ers,
they're not splitting with the 49ers. They're not splitting with the Niners.
So they're sweeping the Niners is what you're saying?
Without a shadow of a doubt. They're going to beat them so bad, we're going to give them another game because of how murderous they destroyed them.
So even if I do that, the Cardinals are at 9-8.
Well, but kind sir, I'm not done. So the first 3 games, I agree. It's going to be Chiefs, Raiders, Cardinals, tough. Like I said, I think they have a legitimate chance. However, let's go 1-2. So right now they're 1-2. They beat the Panthers. I think they beat the Eagles. I think they have a legitimate chance of beating the Eagles. They beat the Cardinals. And I think they lose to the Saints as like a shock type of loss because I don't think anyone's really expecting much from the Saints. And I think the Saints are gonna have a very respectable year. They're gonna beat Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry, the Vikings. I think they beat the Vikings and the Seahawks. So okay. I'm at 6 right now. I'm at 6 wins. I think they lose to the Rams, beat the Niners. I think they'll lose to the Chargers. I'll be nice to say they beat the Patriots because I think I said that for the Patriots, but I think we did say that we will lose to them, especially with D-Hop coming back. So I'll do that. The Broncos, I think that's a toss-up game. I'll give it to the Cardinals.
And it's in Denver.
Right, it's in Denver, but there's gonna be, I was gonna give that one to the Cardinals. So that's 9. I think they lose to the Bucks. And then I think they beat the Falcons. That's 10. and then they beat the Niners. So I'm looking at 11 wins. So that 11-6.
That would put you at, if you have them beating the Chiefs in week 1, they'd be 12-5.
So, right. So that's 12-5. Now, again, I was nice, and I'm just saying they're going to go for their first 3. They're going to go 1-2. Like if I'm a Cardinals fan entering week 4, going into Carolina 1-2, I will accept that because you can still run that. You still have a legitimate chance of being able to be 11-6. You know what I mean?
I can see that. So here's my thing with the 49ers. I have them at 11, and that's the great thing about NFL, about the NFL schedule, is there's so many close matchups, I think. Yes. But looking at the 49ers, and I'm not going to say this is because of or in spite of Trey Lance. I honestly don't think it 100% matters who the quarterback is for the 49ers. They could flip-flop at some point in the season, but I think the way that Shanahan puts together their schemes, their rushing schemes, and they still have a very strong defense, that's going to carry them in a lot of these games. They don't need Trey Lance to go out, and I've said this before on this show and on other shows, they don't need Trey Lance to go out and throw for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 picks. They just need him to be respectable. They need him to be, even if he performs like Garoppolo did last year, they started 3-5 and they made a huge run to make the playoffs. So in a lot of these games, you still have a strong defense. If Trey Lance makes some of the throws and he's going to make mistakes, right? He's going to have like 11, 12 picks on the year. But I think he still has 18 to 20 touchdowns.
Smoking herbs.
I think he still has 18 touchdowns, 18 and 12.
I think if he gets to 15, that would be a massive accomplishment for the kid.
They still got Kittle, who's been a top producer at tight end the last God knows how many years.
That's right.
They still got Ayuk, has come out as kind of the de facto number 1. He performed fairly well later in the year last year. And you got Deebo Samuel, who's an offensive weapon. You could throw him anywhere. I think they're going to utilize him a lot in open space. So if you utilize that, even if you use him as a running back, run him on some sweeps, or get him just the ball in space with some screens, Trey Lance doesn't have to do a ton. He doesn't have to throw the ball 50 yards down the field. They don't need him to do that. So that's why I'm saying, like, they have a good setup as a supporting cast that unless he comes out and is worse than Blake Bortles, I don't think it's really going to matter as much because it's his first season.
I'll be honest. I don't think he'll be worse than Blake Bortles, but I do think he's in that ballpark. I 100% see him
without
in that
playing a single start yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm explaining to you why. This is the biggest.
I respect that.
And this is the biggest indictment on Trey Lance, on why. First and foremost, they've been trying to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo the year after they got him.
Yep.
So if you're so confident in this kid, why keep Jimmy Garoppolo there? Why then restructure him to make him the backup? Almost as if you're kind of hoping, but you're not sure what you have in the kid. If he's really a franchise quarterback, why are you treating him like how the Saints treat Taysom Hill and put him in all these tight end packages? If that is my future franchise quarterback, am I doing that with him? Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. When Alex Smith, when he was with Kansas City, when the Chiefs saw what they had in Patrick Mahomes, they let Alex Smith go. They let him rock. When Dallas saw we think we might have something with Dak Prescott, regardless of the outcome, they thought they had something with him. Tony Romo was out the door. Out the door. How many times have we seen an older quarterback that is talented get replaced by someone younger? All the time.
Yep. Circle of life.
The fact that the Niners are not getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo right now when they can still send him to a few teams and put him somewhere and get something valuable. The fact that they're not doing that lets you know everything you need to know. And don't feed me this garbage about, oh, you always want to have your backup. Because check me if I'm wrong. Was it Joe Montana and Steve Young on the same team at the same time one time?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? Did Steve Young stay under Joe Montana forever?
Absolutely not.
And so what happened? Can you explain what happened?
They let Montana walk.
Oh, they let him walk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe Montana, an all-time great quarterback, they let him walk. Who would have
at the end of his career? Yep.
Well, he was still putting up. He was still respectable.
He did still put up numbers in Kansas City. That is true.
He was still respect. Was it? Well, he's the same. No, and I'm not going to try to pretend he was the same, but he was still respectable. But the point remains: the fact that they're afraid to let go of Jimmy G is the biggest indictment on a kid that when you went up to trade for him had only played. He didn't even play 5 games in the entire collegiate career. People forget the COVID year he took off. Yep. Like, he didn't do it. He didn't do it because he was smart. He didn't do it because, it's the right thing to do. Do you want to know why he did it? He saw the writing on the wall, knew if I played one more snap, I'm going to get exposed. I'm going to give y'all this handful of games and do with that information as you would. I would have done the same thing because I suck at football. I would have done the same thing. I'm going to have a couple good games and go, coach, my knee. You watch SpongeBob?
Yeah,
my
did,
leg.
yes.
That's gonna be my leg. You know, and he played it smart. You're now on this
that's
level.
That's very well true. My counter argument to that for the 49ers, that yes, they want to move on, and they did give Garoppolo. They said they're moving forward with Trey Lance. They gave Garoppolo the opportunity and said, hey, feel free. We're going to allow you to go seek a trade, right? We're going to allow you to go seek a trade. You let your agent do his work. And I guarantee you they have had conversations about getting rid of Garoppolo. So they allow him to go ahead and go seek a trade. He goes and does that. Weeks go by, nothing comes up. And then he comes back and then signs a restructured deal to become one of the highest paid backup in the league. I don't think that's the 49ers saying, well, we really don't want to lose you. It's Jimmy G went and looked at the landscape of where can I start and his agent came back and said, yeah, I got nothing for you, man. There's nowhere that you can go for a better situation than what you're in right now. And they came to an agreement that, okay, you can stay here, but you're going to be the backup. We're going to restructure your contract. And that way you can still stay here because, yes, it is nice to have a reliable backup, but that's the 49ers put themselves in that position. They could have just cut him, yes, but they're eating a ton of dead money, and that's not smart either.
Bro, hold on. If supposedly Trey Lance is the future, why would you want to pay all this money for a backup? Because the money they're paying him is stupid for a backup. It's stupid.
Right. It's restructuring their contract. So it's still if you cut him, it's dead money against your cap anyway. So why not restructure his deal to be a lesser hit on the cap, give him a different signing bonus that makes him happy. And then now at the end of this season or whatever, I bet you they did restructure it so that way they could cut ties with him at the end of this season, but it's going to be dead money against your cap anyway. So why would you just let him walk out the door if you can keep him in house and restructure his deal? But I can almost guarantee the reason why Jimmy G is still there is because he looked at the landscape and went, yeah, I can't start anywhere. There's nowhere that's going to want me right now. So I'm just going to, he came back and they said, see, we told you there's nowhere for you to go.
I guarantee there's a few places he could start, without a shadow of a doubt, no problem.
And part of that could be that, hey, we got a few teams like the Jets, they need a quarterback, or the Browns need a quarterback right now until Deshaun comes back. They might have brought some of these teams to the table. 49ers call them up. Hey, Salah, we got a quarterback for you. Yeah, we want you give us a fourth for him? No? Oh, you don't want anything? You just want us to give him to you? No, we're good. We're good. Thank you.
But again,
that's what that conversation was.
I promise you it didn't go like that. I promise you it didn't go like that. Because if you would rather have an old Joe Flacco be your starter week 1 than Jimmy Garoppolo, you deserve to get fired. I mean that with the most amount of disrespect possible. So if that went down, Robert Saleh, you need to get fired. So let's just get that out the way. That's one. Number 2.
I said that because I don't know their GM's name.
It probably I believe Robert Saleh has something to do with it too. Kind of the same way how Dan Campbell has a little bit to do with, how the, like 2 young coaches that kind of want to rebuild a new culture. So, but if you want to say that for this year, fine. No worries. What about the 2-3 years prior when they were trying to trade him? What about those years then?
The 49ers trying to trade Garoppolo?
Correct. Because they've been trying to trade him for the past 3 years. The past 3. Now, I will be nice, and the first year, I'll let that slide. Because the first year they were doing it, they didn't really have a backup. So they really were trying to do a quarterback for quarterback swap, right? And Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah, sure, he's solid. But the names that they and the teams they were going for, like they were trying to get Russell Wilson. They tried to do Aaron Rodgers. Like, it was dumb. So that first year, I get it. The other 2, they had this kid on their roster. So it's like, if this kid was really that guy, you can't feed me talk about, oh, well, who knows about the kid? Because guess what? The Seattle Seahawks paid Matt Flynn a boatload of money. And when they saw what Russell Wilson did, they put Matt Flynn on the bench. And they did not hesitate a second. They were like, this kid is better.
They did, but they didn't cut him immediately.
But there was no need to. There was no need to.
And there's no need to cut Jimmy G and San Fran right now.
There is, because you can still get something for him. See, the difference between Matt Flynn and Jimmy Garoppolo has had success before, so you can get something for him. Matt Flynn cashed in on 1 game when he was in Green Bay, that last game of the season. Nobody was paying Matt Flynn. There wasn't a bidding war on Matt Flynn. The Seattle Seahawks just played it dumb. So that, but the fact remains, they still benched him, and they moved on, and they got rid of him. What, like the next year?
It was within the next year or 2.
So they ended up still cutting him and eating that dead money anyway. So they ended up still taking that money in the face. Granted, this one doesn't involve dead money, but the point, actually it involves a little bit of it, but the point remains, New England, we got Mac Jones, and we were like, all right, Cam, good luck. And everyone thought, oh yeah, Mac Jones will take the reins week 4, week 5. Before the preseason even finishes, dude is out the door.
Yep.
So it's like, you can't tell me, oh yeah, you can't really cut him or do anything. Like, you can, and where the Niners are right now, who cares about dead money? Because that dead money only affects you this year, and you already made all the changes you needed to do this year. I think Brandon Ayuk got an extension, I believe. Yeah, paid for. Fact check me on that one.
I know Debo got his contract.
I know, yeah, Debo got paid. You already took care of George Kittle. You already took care of Fred Warner, right? You already took care of most of these complementing pieces. So it's like, let's say it's dead money for this year. Who cares? It doesn't matter, because it's just for this year anyway. Because next year, that dead money is gone and it won't matter. And then next year is probably when you need to start worrying about, all right, should we look at Elijah Mitchell? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you really got faith in this kid, why make Jimmy G the highest paid quarterback when you can just send him elsewhere and go get another quarterback that's better in the backup role?
What if the 49ers asking price is too high for Jimmy G, which is why they haven't traded him yet?
I promise you that's not the case. It can't be the case. The only way that'll be the case, the only way, is if they themselves know that Trey Lance isn't ready, which will then contradict this entire experiment they're trying to do.
So then to kind of go back to what you were saying then earlier is that they've been trying to trade Jimmy G for 2 or 3 seasons, right? We'll say solid 2 seasons for sure.
Right.
If they haven't traded him yet, their asking price has to be too high, right? Because even Baker Mayfield went for what, a 6th round pick?
So let me just go on that. That's because Baker publicly was like, "Yeah, I'm out of here," and then he was sitting out.
Right,
he was sitting out, so that really put pressure on the Browns. But what I'm saying is about Jimmy G is because the asking price the first time was stupidly high.
Right.
That I think you and I can agree, because they're talking about, oh yeah, how do y'all feel? Hear me out now. Jimmy G for Russell Wilson straight up. Okay, they're doing that and thinking, oh yeah, this is high IQ plays. And Pete Carroll's like, what in the hell is even that? Like, what are you going on about? So that first year, it was stupidly high. However, since then, there have been 3 teams that the Niners have pulled out of trading Jimmy Garoppolo for. On them, everything was in place and agreed, and for whatever reason, they pulled out. Seattle, because they were supposed to send him there, then they pulled out. They were originally supposed to send him over to Cleveland before the entire thing, because their concern was, before the entire Deshaun Watson thing, they were like, yeah, we need a solid backup in case Baker gets hurt.
Yep.
So it was Cleveland, and then the Niners pulled back. And people forget about this. What was it? I think it was last year. Yeah, last year, the Titans were discussing on acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo for Ryan Tannehill. They were going to do that. Everything was lined up. And then the Niners, as soon as it started getting reporting, the little rumblings that it was starting to get reported, they pulled out immediately. So they had opportunities where everything lined up, and then they pulled out. Now, the reason for why they pulled out, that remains to be known. It's ambiguous. But it's weird that 3 different teams you pulled out of a trade where both parties agreed on the price it would be. I find that suspicious. I find that weird. Like, that just lets me know, at least for me anyway, you don't trust him. You don't trust Trey Lance. You don't trust him. Because if you were to trust him, you would have sent Jimmy G out a while ago. Now, granted, like I said, that first year, it was stupid. Talking about, oh yeah, him for Aaron Rodgers straight up. How you feel about that? Like, excuse me. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit up Kansas City. It was like, oh yeah, we got porn star Jimmy, Patty Mahomes. Let's make a trade. I wouldn't be surprised if someone stupid self did something like that, you know. But they've had at least 3, and there have been multiple other ones reported, even including a return back to New England. Like, there were a few of them, but a lot of them end up coming with the Niners themselves kind of rescinding the offer. Now, do we know the exact reason? No. Could be something along the lines of the Niners took another look and said, you know what? Let's try to get something else. And they said no. And they were like, all right, cool. Let's see who blinks here. And, it could have been that, who knows what the reason is. But the reason that I'm coming up to is that I'm assuming, if you're not willing to trade Jimmy G for a kid you say is your future, and in a game where the young eats the old, if you're still rocking with the old, that's a problem. Hell, it didn't even take Lamar Jackson a full season to get Joe Flacco out of the league. I'm sorry, out of Baltimore. So, But don't worry about it. When Blake Bortles, sorry, Trey Lance, my fault. That was very immature of me. Very immature of me.
Bringing that full circle from earlier.
But yeah, no, it's just for me, his mechanics are a little weird. You know, his reading defenses is very subpar. Even and people want to, and this is the wild part, people want to knock Trevor Lawrence for how he reads defenses. I don't think he has a problem reading defenses. I just think his Clemson days are hard to kill because at Clemson, my guy didn't care. Double coverage, triple coverage, quadruple coverage. Yeah. Don't matter. I'm gonna throw this.
When you have the best athletes on the field on your own team, it's so much easier.
100%. So, and I just think he's bringing that over to Jacksonville, which, you know, when you're a guy like Trevor Lawrence, he probably thinks that's the right thing to do. Because think about it. I'm going there, have nothing. Everything's going to be on my back. Well, hell, I felt like everything was on my back in Clemson. Let's run it back.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, no, Trey Lance, boo-boo in the butt, as the children say.
I think it'll be intriguing for Trey Lance. He hadn't had a lot of meaningful snaps, but I think the way that team is set up, I think he still could make some mistakes and the team could still be good. So, but one of the other, I wanted to bring back one of these because we were talking about the Packers and now the Vikings is the other team. I know Damien's got the comment here about how we don't think the Vikings are going to be good because they still need a QB. Cousins isn't the guy. You mean the guy Cousins who's been in the MVP conversation for the last couple seasons?
Say that louder, Craig. I don't think he heard you.
Is that the guy you're talking about, Damon? Damien, the guy that's Damon. I got the Game of Thrones show stuck in my head.
House of the Dragon?
That new House of the Dragon, yeah. Looking at the Vikings season, I'm looking at their schedule right now. I still have them 10 to 11 wins. Like I have them splitting against the Packers, splitting against the Lions, sweeping the Bears because I don't think the Bears are that good. But a lot of their other teams, they've got some challenge. They got some challenging games, but they've got a lot of easy ones too.
Yeah, and the thing about the Vikings, look, I just want to say one thing real quick because a lot of people kind of want to harp on Kirk Cousins. People need to stop looking at the record and automatically assuming it's the quarterback.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of times where Kirk Cousins has put up phenomenal numbers, did his thing, kept them in the game the entire time, and then the defense is selling.
So I want to, and Damien, I want to address you directly here. You mean the same Kirk Cousins that over the past 2 seasons has thrown for over 4,200 yards and 33 touchdowns? That same guy who's not the answer, who's had a QB rating of over 100 3 straight seasons. That guy. I know the defense is probably taking a little bit of a step back, but you still got on offense. You still got Delvin Cook. You still got Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Adam Thielen, even though he's on a way down, is still a force. I would be really intrigued to see how Jalen Reagor turns out being traded from Philadelphia.
I think that's going to be a good pickup. I put him and N'Keal Harry in the same thing where like the situation just wouldn't benefit both parties. And it was just time to move on before we could officially call him a bust or anything like that.
Kirk Cousins in 4 seasons at Minnesota, his lowest QB rating on the season was 99.7. So like consider that 100. 4 straight seasons of 100 QB rating. 2 of those seasons he's thrown less than 10 interceptions. He's thrown for 30 or more touchdowns 3 of those 4 seasons. And he's thrown for over 4,000 passing yards 3 of those 4 seasons. So I think he's the guy. He just gets a bad reputation because of every year that he was in Washington. They're like, well, we don't want to commit to you long-term, so we're going to tag you. We don't want to commit to you long-term, so we're going to tag you. So what does he do the last 3 years while he's in Washington? 4,100 yards, 4,900 yards, 4,000 yards. Completion percentages of 65% or better every year.
Which is why to me it's insane, because I'll be honest with you. Like when I watch Kirk Cousins play, it's very seldom that I sit back and go, yeah, Washington lost because of Kirk Cousins, or yeah, the Vikings lost because of Kirk Cousins. It's very seldom that I say that. There's other quarterbacks in the league that I go, yep, this idiot sold. Case in point, Dak Prescott. I can say, yeah, this dummy sold. I can say that with a straight face. You know, there's been multiple times where I looked and I'll go like, I'll just go, for real, Jay Cutler, you selling like that? For real? There are some quarterbacks you can blame. If a quarterback is doing everything, you know who else is in the conversation too? Who does everything they could and still gets blamed even if they have a perfect game? Justin Herbert. He's starting to get there. They do everything they could, and then the defense sells them out, and then all of a sudden it's the quarterback's fault. I don't think so. Now, if the quarterbacks are playing horrible, that's one thing. When the guy is producing and keeping you in the game, and he's looking at the defense and on his hands and knees begging you, get me one stop, and instead of giving you one stop, they give the opposing team 2 touchdowns. If you're Kirk Cousins, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
What are you supposed to do? There's nothing you can do. But for the Vikings, I think I did have them splitting with Green Bay. Did I?
I think
I believe
you did.
so.
Yeah.
So I got split with Green Bay. I think they lose to Philly.
Really?
I think they lose to Philly.
Philly's that much better?
I wouldn't say that much. But in a game like this, and this is where unfortunately Kirk Cousins is gonna have to take a brunt of it, I would trust Philly's defense more than I would trust the Vikings defense. I think it's like a 5-point game.
Okay.
I don't think it's anything crazy. Then I got them beating Detroit.
Yep.
I got them beating the Saints.
Yep.
And then I got them beating Chicago.
Yep.
I have them beating Miami.
See, I have them losing on the road.
You got them losing right before their bye week?
I got them losing on the road at Miami.
I think it's a close game. I think it's a close game.
That's one of those toss-up games. I was like,
yep,
I'll give the edge to the home team.
Right. Then their bye week.
Yep.
They lose to Arizona.
See, I got the other way around on extra rest at home.
Because I think I said that Arizona would win this game on the when I was talking about Arizona.
Yep.
So and then Washington, I think they beat Washington. They lose to Buffalo. I think they beat Dallas. I think I said they lose to New England. But I do think that's a toss-up game where it could honestly, in my opinion, it could go either way. It really could. And then they got the Jets and then the Lions. So that's like, what am I looking at? Wow.
See, I have them splitting with the Lions, home and home. So in this case, I'm going to click over. You got that as a win. And then what about the Colts in 15?
Oh, I'm dumb. I got them winning. I got them beating the Colts.
Okay.
Beating the Giants. And then, like I said, they split Green Bay. Is this at Lambeau?
It's at Lambeau.
Okay, so they're losing this one because this is gonna be brick.
Okay.
So they win the first one and then they lose this one.
Yep.
And then I got them beating Chicago.
All right. So you got them then at 11-6.
Right. Which is about the same. The only thing is there's like a couple games.
Right.
That we, like I said, I think we both agree. There's a few games that are some toss-ups.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but again, 11-6 overall. I think that's. I honestly think that's how it goes. I think they're about 5-1. I either have them 5-1 or 4-2 in their division.
Yeah, looking over their schedule, I have them 5-1 on the screen, but going over looking at more in depth. I mean, even if they lose, I have them at 4-2 in the division.
At worst, right?
Yeah. So I mean, but I think they split with the Packers, Lions, and then sweep the Bears. So I mean, that's 2, 3, 4 wins. So,
which honestly is not bad. You know, that's honestly, you know, really not bad. And I do think they win the division. You know, so It's just I just think Kirk Cousins gets a lot of undeserved flack, and I don't think it's fair, especially considering he shows up and does his thing. It's not like they have to bail him out. I think he has to work overtime to bail out the defense, and they still blame him. It's insane. Like, people want to, scream, "Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers throws single-digit interceptions," but then when Kirk Cousins does it,
nah, nobody talks about it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So, free Kirk Cousins.
But yeah, all right. So let's kind of change gears. Talk about some college football now. The last couple days, we've been off. So the top 25 was released on what was that, on Monday after the show?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the top 25 for this week. I don't know, like, it's coming off last weekend. We talked about Monday on the show of, surprises and stuff from week 1 college football. But now that the top 25, the AP top 25 is out.
Yep.
I guess what you got, any surprises off here?
Surprises?
I have one big one.
Go ahead. Let me hear yours.
Florida all the way to 12.
See, that one right there honestly does not surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
I understand. I don't know what they were preseason rank. If they were like,
no, they weren't ranked. They were unranked.
What I'm saying is, if they were, because they rank all the teams from top to bottom, but just the top 25.
You're talking about the preseason one that you're talking about.
Yeah. So if preseason Florida's 26 to 30, that makes sense. But Florida coming off a 6-win season, I don't think they were ranked that even anywhere near the top 25. So that's a big surprise for me. The fact that Florida went all the way up to 12. I'm honestly, I know Utah was 7 down to 13. That kind of makes sense. USC's up in the top 10 now. But I think that's the only real big surprise for me out of here. Otherwise, Cincinnati's not ranked anymore. There's a few others, but I think out of this, that's the surprise. Clemson doesn't surprise me. They dropped the spot because they didn't look really good.
Which is insane considering the scoreboard told a different story. I think they were 41-10?
It was where was that game at?
It was something.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was
like the score showed they dominated, but if you watch the game,
it was a lot closer.
DJ struggled, bro.
Felt like it, at least.
How long till DJ ends up, sitting down on the bench?
I don't know. That's the conversation right now. Is is DJ had a bit of a rough season, and what's he going to do this next step? In game 1, he didn't really look all that good. So
no, he did not look good at all. And I said this last week. DJ needed to shine.
Yeah,
against Georgia. Georgia Tech. He needed to shine. This was his opportunity to solidify himself as potentially the starter for the rest of the year. This was his opportunity. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And in my opinion, I don't think he lasts the season as a starter. There's no way, if you're Georgia, you let that rock. I'm sorry, Clemson. I'm sorry. There's no way, if you're Clemson, you let him continue being the starter. But yeah, so Florida was 12th.
Yeah, he didn't perform particularly well. But
no. Another one that kind of surprised me a little bit. Ohio State. See, this is where the inconsistency shines, in my opinion. Because remember how everyone keeps saying strength of schedule? Everyone's be like strength of schedule, strength of schedule. This is why I say strength of schedule is the dumbest thing in the world. This is why I say it is stupid, it is dumb, and most of all, inconsistent. I'm going to explain why. So Ohio State, they beat Notre Dame, correct?
Correct.
Right? At the time, they were fifth. They were ranked fifth at the time. Okay?
Notre Dame, yeah.
Yes, so Ohio State beats Notre Dame. Ohio State drops one. Georgia, who I love, beat a team that was out of the top 10. I think Oregon was like 11th or 12th.
11.
They were 11th. They beat them, and now they're second.
You want to know why that is?
Explain to me, please.
So Ohio State, if you look at just the box score for the Ohio State Notre Dame game, it'll show, what was it, 28-10 or 21-10?
Right.
Something like that. That game was close through 3 quarters.
Yeah, I know.
Ohio State had no. They were in the third, fourth quarter, somewhere in there. I forget what time frame, but Notre Dame was leading in the second half, and that game was a lot closer than if you're Ohio State. The rankings are all about style points. Like, if you want to be considered one of the top teams, you got to blow people out. What Georgia did against Oregon, which I think was slightly overrated because Bo Nix is really not a good quarterback.
Forget slightly, very overrated, because everyone was anti Bo Nix going to Oregon.
Yeah, Bo Nix is not a good quarterback. We can throw that out there. But what Georgia did to Oregon is a huge statement in a primetime game against 2 top 25 teams. Now, had Ohio State done that to Notre Dame, they would have stayed at number 2.
So you're telling me it's how you win?
Correct. It's not if you win, it's how you win. That's the hypocrisy of college football.
And it's crazy because I've been saying
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I just think that's the way it is.
That's basically what I've been saying. And like, I've had people tell me that's not the case. There's been times where I've been on this morning show, Craig, and there's a full panel, and I'm just by myself in a corner, just swinging a sword to protect myself. And I got like 15 people coming at me, and I'm just swinging, like, protecteth me now. Like, because this is just my opinion. I think strength of schedule is dumb. And I think it's dumb because it's just inconsistent. It's far too inconsistent, because if you beat a top-ranked team, then they go, oh, let's see here. You know what I mean? Like, then they do the whole thing of how'd you win? And it's like, well, shouldn't you look at how they won first? Right. Shouldn't that be the first thing before you look at strength of schedule? And that's just why I hate the strength of schedule argument, because again, it just comes down to inconsistencies and the hypocrisy.
Yeah, I love what Joe said in our chat the other day. I think it might have even been today. They shouldn't release these top 25 rankings until at least a couple weeks in the season.
No, 100%. Because I'm gonna tell you why. I'm explaining something real quick, because this right, and I mean this. Okay, so Texas A&M, in 3 weeks they won't be top 25.
Really, in 3 weeks?
In 3 weeks they won't be top 25. Ole Miss, maybe like the lower half. Florida, they won't be here in a couple weeks. I think you and I agree on the Florida one. I think in a couple weeks we won't. Florida will kind of just.
It was a nice win. And that's the one thing. That's one thing I don't like about college football. I like how college basketball, you can kind of modify your schedule even leading up to the season and pick up new games. And college football games are scheduled 8 years out. And that game, Florida versus Utah, was scheduled back when like Urban Meyer, I think, was still there. Like it was 10 years out.
Yep.
Like it was done years ago. Right. And you never know what teams are going to be in what positions by the time they actually play. So this was a lose-lose situation for Utah right before the snap even started.
Which is why that's another reason why I don't like this strength of schedule thing, because again, you're doing this based on a literal decade ago, bro. like almost a decade ago, you know? Yeah. Like back then, yeah, Florida was nice. They were nice. You know, but you know what else there was, bro? I think like 10 years ago, Craig, you might know this. People walked around with Walkmans. those were the dark times, you know?
They were called,
back then.
Those of you that are young, they're cassette tapes. They had a little film in it and it played music, not it was very different.
Yeah, bro. Like back then, dude, like I'd have to wake up and go through, you know, a foot of snow to go to school in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, I had a Flintstones car, bro. You know, back then you couldn't be out past 6 o'clock because the dinosaurs would get you.
So we're talking about Florida, and they jumped. So I saw on the ranking it says they jumped up 25 spots, which means they were preseason ranked 37. That's too high. Like that's not the preseason ranking. I get that, but the fact that they jumped 25 spots, that to me that's too high of a jump.
And again, that's the inconsistency because Ohio State beat a higher ranked team than Georgia and they dropped down a spot.
Yeah.
But then this is the same people that at the time Utah was the top. I think they were 7th. I think going into Georgia, I think they were 7th. But yeah, they end up, like, you know, Florida wins that, and because it's a ranked opponent, you gotta shoot them up there. That's where it's weird. That's where it's awkward, and that's why I hate the strength of schedule argument because it's just there's no validity and there's no consistency with it. I feel like if they were a little more consistent, I think it would be a easier pill to swallow.
Yeah, I think you're right. One of the questions that came up, Damien asked, a little shocked why Washington is the top 25. So Damien, just to kind of give you some insider info here, Washington's not even getting a vote to be in the top 25.
At all.
They beat Kent State, which is not considered to be a good MAC team this year. And the fact that Washington doesn't even get a single vote in the top 25 should tell you everything you need to know about Washington right now. And what was the other thing? Oh, BYU, top 25 because they murdered South Florida, i.e. previous argument. But BYU jumped up a couple of spots because of their win, but they jumped up 4 spots. Yeah, They were at 25. So now this is something I think we talked about last week about Utah specifically. Utah drops from 7 to 13, losing on the road at Florida. Can they still make the playoff now? I have an easy answer for this.
Honestly, looking at everything, nah, bro. Nah.
That's where I'm at.
Nah.
I understand bro. If they run the table and win the Pac-12, sure. But you're also talking about Florida will be Florida. I agree with you. I don't think they're not going to stay. This is the highest I think they'll be all season ranked.
100%.
The highest they'll be all season. So Florida's 100%. Not going to end up looking like a great loss. It's going to be a bad loss.
Right.
And you look at the rest of their schedule. I think even if they went out, look at the top 4 teams. Yeah, 2 of them are probably going to, it's either Michigan or Ohio State in the Big Ten. Not both of them are going to make it.
Right.
If Clemson can win in a fairly weak ACC, they'll get in. Georgia, Bama gets in. So now there's your 3 to 4 teams already. Utah just by default is not getting in. They had to go undefeated to get into the playoff.
And not only that, I think we talked about this. USC with 2 losses is more likely to make it than an undefeated Utah team.
Bingo.
Like I think that's more likely. And honestly, you know what they'll probably end up doing? We need someone from the Independent in here. Oh shoot, Notre Dame, come on, let's get on over here. There's a few other teams that, if we're gonna call it default, right? If we're gonna give like a default entry, there's a few other teams that would go. I think Oklahoma has a better chance of making it than Utah. Baylor probably has a better chance. I already went on my whole USC thing where I think I said it before.
Yeah.
Not only would I not be shocked if they go undefeated, I honestly have expectations of them at least being in the conversation of the college football playoffs. I have them 100%.
Yeah, we talked about that on Monday in our college football segment.
Yeah.
How they need to make statement games, especially this weekend at Stanford. But yeah, and they play Utah. USC plays Utah, and I
Yep.
think USC wins that game, even though it's at Utah, which is a very tough environment.
Yep.
But I could easily see USC running the table, getting to the Pac-12 championship game, being in that mix. And I'm with you. I think USC, just by brand name alone, is going to get them more clout than a Utah would.
Exactly. And again, not only is USC cloudy, right? They're like the cloudy team. You know how you have one of the cloudiest clout guys in all of Cloutopia in Lincoln Riley. Right? You got Clout Master Pimp over there in the corner just chilling. And like he ends up going there. And before he could even get his ticket, he didn't even finish packing. He had like what? 4 recruits or four guys transfer to be with him?
Yeah, Caleb Williams leading the way. They also had a kid that was the Bolitnikoff Award winner, which for those that aren't aware, it's the best wide receiver in the country award, essentially, from Pitt, and he transferred to USC.
Mind you, there were a few guys who had committed that uncommitted to follow Lincoln Riley.
Yep.
So
that's what he brings. That's what USC has been. It's not the fact they've been lacking that because they by brand name, but as you get further and further away from the Reggie Bush and the Matt Leinart days, that clout, that's why Bama and Georgia are able to recruit the way they have, because they're more recent powerhouses. And that's what Lincoln Riley does, is he helps bring those recruits back.
And not only are you saying, like, to piggyback off of your point, like, not only are they recent, but let's say there's like 3 years where Alabama kind of all of a sudden falls off the face of the planet in terms of wins. Guess what? Nick Saban will still be there. So the guy that created it, you will still see his face. So that's kind of why it's unlikely for Alabama, for Georgia, for Ohio State to fall off, because now the guys that you see and associate with, they've been kind of good. Like, all that is still there. That's and again, to your point, people know USC, right? Like, if I say USC, people know, right? But it's like the players, they don't want to play for USC. They don't care about USC. It's the same exact thing as Bryce Young. Bryce Young does not care about Alabama. He doesn't care. He's playing for Nick Saban. That's what he's playing for.
Yep.
He's playing for Nick Saban. And that's what the kids in USC are there for. They're like, sure, cool. Get a degree. I'm smart, whatever, right? Who cares, right? But I'm kidding.
Kids aren't going there for. Some of them are still going for academics, but most of them, especially in those big power conferences or even the top 3 teams, those guys that go to that school, they might go back eventually to go, but they're not going for the academics. They're going for the platform to get to the NFL.
Exactly. And to Greg's point, USC is now 10th, right? And honestly, I don't even think they even need to win in a dominant fashion. That's the crazy, like a lot of times people say that they need to blow them up. USC, with how prestigious it is, combined with Lincoln Riley, and all of a sudden with all these transfers and new commits and making the program better, they didn't even have to dominate. You average only a 10-point win with 2 losses, they'll throw them in there. Because like you said, there's 3, I think 2 spots are already taken. Bama and Georgia. I think that's the unanimous, universal consensus, right? So there's technically 2, and I say 2, right? Because I'm trying to be nice. But Ohio State or Michigan is going to take that 3rd spot. So technically speaking, for everyone else, there's really only 1 spot. There's only 1. And I think a 2-loss UNC or USC has a better chance of making it than these teams I'm going to list. And I'm talking about these teams undefeated. Baylor, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma, Florida, Can't even mention Utah because they took a loss. Michigan State. I know that one's going to be controversial, but I said what I said and I meant it.
They didn't look good. They didn't look good against my alma mater, and that's not saying a lot because they had 8 wins last year. Potential they could be about the same this year. So they're not going to be a 10-win football team. And the fact that they took you to the wire at your home, on your first game of the year, that doesn't look good for Michigan State. They've got some holes to fill for sure.
And here's my thing, and this might be controversial. Craig, I want to get your thoughts. And Greg, I want you to do me a favor, Greg. If you disagree with me, let me know. I think a 2-loss. Should I one-up myself? I'm going to one-up myself. I'm going to one-up myself.
Don't say 3. Don't say 3.
A 3-loss.
They won't.
Okay, let me stop. Because you're right. Once you get 3 losses, you're basically that's like an under 500 season, so you're out. But I think a 2-loss USC team has a better chance of making the college football playoffs than an undefeated Clemson.
Wow.
Let that sink. Before you get mad at me, just digest it for a second. Get that taste out your mouth. Right now, spit it out. Right now, say it again, and just say. Don't say it because you agree with me. Just say it so you speak those words out yourself. Because sometimes when you don't hear something, you need to say yourself to see how you sound. A 2-loss USC team has a better chance of making the college football playoffs than an undefeated Clemson.
I think it depends who those losses are.
Matter of fact, okay, I'll tell you. I got
the schedule. They got 2 ranked teams. If they lose those 2 ranked games, it depends on how their other schedule. I think I slightly agree with you. If USC has a 1-loss season and they only lose against Utah, I think they can still get in. Over a Clemson.
Yeah.
1 loss, okay. 2 is really pushing it, but it's possible because it's.
What about USC.
3? 3, you're out, man. That means you got to lose against an unranked team.
Yeah, let's. All right, who are we gonna lose? So let me pick one.
It would be Stanford this weekend.
No, because remember how we talked about last year. I want to see what loss. It would have to be either Colorado or Arizona. Because remember, in my universe, this is the if we're going everything based on my universe, they swept California.
Right.
I think we had this conversation before where, like, if they can sweep California, like, we're going to be like, because every time you talk to Pete Carroll, we got some good guys. You know what I mean? By the way, all Cali's mine. All right. And, we got a great lineage. We had, we had a whole bunch of guys. A whole bunch of guys came in here and dominated California. So I with that going back, and if they could take over California, I think they're in a great position. So that's what I'm saying. It would have to be. I mean, I don't even think Arizona State. It had to be either Arizona or Colorado. Nah, if you lose to Colorado, you should just be eliminated, period. Yeah, I'll take it back. Let's stick with 2.
It would have to be a road game against, like, Utah, Arizona. And that's it, because they're not losing to UCLA. It's possible, but it's doubtful. I don't think, because even if we're running with the dominate California narrative, that means their only losses on the road are limited to 3 teams.
And that's Oregon, Utah,
Oregon State,
and Arizona.
Oregon
State, I'm sorry.
Oregon State's dog crap.
Right, so you're not losing there.
You're not losing there. And then you got Utah and Arizona. That's it.
Yeah.
Damien, to answer your question, I do like this question. Is anyone shocked that Cincinnati isn't even in the rankings after having a great season last year? I'm not shocked at all, because I think teams like a Cincinnati, they had a great year last year. You made the playoff. Excellent. That has nothing to do with this year. And Cincinnati's not as good. They kept it close with Arkansas, but they were already ranked in the 20s, I think, to start. So I would not have kept them in the rankings myself.
Yeah, they were 23.
23. There you go. So I wouldn't have you can't keep them in because there's nowhere to drop.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because then because of all of them, two teams. There are two teams that were unranked that moved up into the ranking. So you have to make room.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to make room. And unfortunately, I just think because Tennessee is up at 24, and then you got obviously, Florida. We already spoke
Florida
about
jumped
that.
in. Yep.
Right. So they were at 23, but again, and that's the rough part about being at the bottom, 20 to 25. That's the rough part about it, because you could have a phenomenal game and you could still get bounced out the top 25.
Yep.
That's the worst part. That's why even though I refer to it as a top 20. Because the top 20, if like for instance, right now, Kentucky, if Kentucky loses, there's a legitimate chance we'll still see them in the top 25. If you lose in the top 25 or even win, but it's not as dominating as everyone wants it to be, you're out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Don't believe me? Holla at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right? And if you lose, you'll get out. And honestly, you can't even see us about the top 25 because Oregon was 11th.
Yeah. 100%. So and that's going to be an interesting one this weekend because you got Florida and Kentucky at Florida this weekend. So Florida realistically could go 2-0.
Not only that, if they win it and let's pretend they dominate, how high does Florida go up? Because Craig, we're gonna be messed up because we both agree that this is the highest Florida would be. If they win and they if they're above USC, I gotta talk to somebody. I need a manager.
We gotta talk to somebody. So I think, but that's a good point because I'm looking at the schedule for this week. The only big games on the schedule, Bama's at Texas, and that's just going to be a bloodbath anyway.
Right.
Everybody else plays cupcake teams, except for USC at Stanford, which is always tough to go there. But other than that, nobody else on the schedule. Oklahoma State's home against Arizona State, so maybe you throw that in there. But if Florida goes in and dominates, who are you going to put them ahead of? Because nobody else has a high-profile game this weekend.
Which again goes back to the original. The strength of schedule thing it's awkward because by that logic, because they're playing a top 25 team, they need to shoot up.
So what the AP just did is they put themselves in a corner because they ranked them too high to start, and now if they win, there's
they gotta commit. You gotta commit
already. Yes. So basically, if you're saying if Florida dominates or wins by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns against Kentucky, you're basically telling me that you think they're a top 10 team after having 6 wins last year. Like I'd be very concerned.
I'd be and that's the thing. They're gonna be in a very uber awkward situation because, like you said, let's say we go by your thing, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. They would almost have to.
By default, almost have to be a top 10 team.
Almost have to.
They would jump Oklahoma State realistically.
Yes.
If USC has a close game, even if they win, I still think they climb the rankings, but I don't know who they go over.
I'll be honest, I think I would put them 8.
I would see that.
8. Especially considering because and I say that because Notre Dame is playing Marshall. Do I think they win? Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think we're in a situation where, like you said, if we could go by strength of schedule, they're not ranked and they're not close to being ranked. So you can't move Notre Dame up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you said, they put themselves in a corner where they're going to panic and they're going to make it worse and put Florida top 4. They're gonna panic. They're gonna panic, and they're gonna destroy everything. I'm telling you, Clemson is gonna drop. Watch, I'm gonna predict it. You ready? They're gonna win. I almost hope they win so we can watch the world burn. Like I want to watch these rankings just like get flipped upside down, right? So Alabama and Georgia, I think they say the top 2.
Yep.
I'll say Ohio keeps 3, and I think USC ends up 5th. Because let's just ruin this, right? Let's just ruin it. I think they end up 5th because USC is playing, you said Stanford.
Stanford, yeah.
Granted, they're not ranked. Still a tough place to play. At Sanford, to your point, I think you brought it up earlier. At Sanford, still a tough place to play. So I think that alone will kind of move them up some. And again, 6 Texas A&M, they're playing Appalachian State.
If App State puts up some points against Texas A&M, I think A&M drops.
They're dropping.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it this way: if App State, they get over 20 points, they get 20 or more points, they're Texas A&M, they're dropping. And when I say dropping,
62 points at last week.
So good luck. You feel me? Good luck on Texas A&M. So, when I say drop, I'm talking about potentially outside of the top 10. By the way, Damian, Tennessee is in the. You said I'm surprised Tennessee's in the top 10. They aren't best known for football. They are known for basketball. But I mean, so even though they're not known for it, they're still a solid program when it comes to football.
Yeah,
they're still a solid program.
They haven't had a ton of success since Peyton Manning left, but
right.
But
we're not talking about that. We're just talking about them being a solid program. I will say this though. I think last year Tennessee was kind of around the same thing. They were like between 20 and 25 for most, if not all of the year. So, they're a solid program, but man, next week, imagine this, bro. Week 3. It's gonna be week 3. Week 3, Craig. And the committee's gonna be like, okay. It's gonna be.
What do we do here?
But it's a legitimate question. If Florida wins, where do you go? Where do you go from here? Like that. That's a legitimate question. That I'm not even saying this to be a smart butt or anything like that, but you can't use strength of schedule for Georgia. You can't use strength of schedule for Florida this week and then not use it next week.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be awkward. But I love the chaos. I'm here for it, man.
Some feelings are going to get hurt next week if Florida wins at home against Kentucky on Saturday. And you got to wonder who are they going to jump ahead of. So, but that's something we're going to talk about tail end. We'll talk a little bit more college football games to look forward to tomorrow. And of course, we're going to recap tonight's game against in the NFL, Bills and Rams tonight at 8:20 on NBC. But so tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we'll be back here on ASAP in the morning. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow ASAP Network on whatever platform you're watching from, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, wherever you're watching from. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. You can always hit for notifications. So anytime that we go live or any of the other great shows here on the ASAP Network. Later on today, we got the Afternoon Blitz on at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Easy Money is on at 3 p.m. Eastern here on ASAP Network. Next, also tomorrow night, we got Horseshoe Talk, 6 p.m. Eastern. Red Kingdom on Saturdays, talking Chiefs football.
Boo!
But to see any of that, you've got to follow and subscribe to ASAP Network on Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, on YouTube, search ASAP Sports Network, and of course on Twitch at ASAP Network. For Pride, I am Craig. Have a great Thursday, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
All Sports All Plays. Yeah. All Sports All Plays. All Sports All Plays. 365, we making a place. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All Sports All Plays.